The atoms in your body are older than this planet. Observation log, where Earth came from. By the time we reach the final entry, I think the word home will mean something different to you. Humans tend to think of Earth as a beginning, the starting point, something that was simply here. From my observations, Earth is not a beginning, it is a consequence. The result of a chain of events so precisely ordered, so improbable, that calling it accidental requires a considerable tolerance for irony. Here are 7 things about where this planet actually came from. Humans have equations for several of these. For the others, they have the equations. And then a long silence. Let us begin. 7. Picture a cloud, not the kind that passes overhead on an unremarkable Tuesday afternoon. A cloud older than this solar system, made of gas, dust, and the scattered debris of a star that burned for billions of years and exploded before your sun existed. That cloud collapsed under its own gravity. The center ignited and became the sun. What remained at the edges, slowly rotating, cooling, condensing, became everything else. Here is what most accounts leave out. The iron in this planet could not have formed here. Your sun is not massive enough to forge iron. Iron requires a star, larger, hotter, and more violent than this one. A star that had to exhaust itself completely, collapse under its own weight, and explode before a single atom of it could exist in this solar system. The iron currently inside this planet came from a star more powerful than the one it orbits. From my observations, Earth is assembled from borrowed material, and so, it follows, is everything on it. That thought will return. 6. For its first 100 million years, this planet was not a planet. It was a collision, a continuous, relentless collision, a debris field with gravity, still deciding whether it would become a planet. The entire surface was molten rock, not lava in the way humans observe from a safe distance, but an ocean of it, kilometers deep, glowing, moving. Above it, a sky still dense with debris, objects ranging from grains of dust to bodies the size of mountains, falling constantly, adding mass, adding heat, adding chaos. Nothing was solid, nothing was stable, nothing was survivable. And yet, gravity kept pulling it together. This process is called accretion. It is not elegant. It is a slow war of fragments, each collision determining what stays and what scatters. Over millions of years, what remained grew, cooled, fractionally, hardened in places. The planet was assembling itself out of the wreckage of its own formation. It was, by any standard I am aware of, an extraordinarily violent way to begin. From my observations, the universe has never been especially careful with the things it intends to keep. I find that oddly reassuring. The next entry is where things begin to feel considerably less like coincidence. 5. Then something arrived that was not supposed to be here. A body roughly the size of Mars was sharing Earth's early orbit. Planetary scientists call it Theia. The collision, when it came, was total. Both objects partially destroyed, partially merged. The material ejected into orbit over tens of millions of years became the moon. The moon stabilizes Earth's axial tilt. Without it, this planet would wobble through unpredictable cycles. Seasons would collapse. Climates would shift on timescales too rapid for complex life to adapt. One collision, one moon. Everything that followed depended on this. The moon is not staying. It moves away from Earth at approximately 4 centimeters per year. Quietly, consistently, as it has since the day it formed. The Earth you stand on exists because a planet was destroyed. From my observations, the conditions that made this possible have always been temporary. That was true from the beginning. 4. Early Earth was entirely molten, and within it, something began to sink. Iron, denser than everything around it, falling through the interior over millions of years until it settled at the center. This event is called the iron catastrophe. That iron core, still liquid in its outer layers, rotates. That rotation generates a magnetic field. That field deflects the solar wind, the constant stream of charged particles emitted by the sun. Without it, the atmosphere is stripped, slowly, completely. Mars lost its magnetic field early in its history. Today, Mars has an atmosphere less than 1% the density of Earth's. The solar wind did the rest over billions of years. The difference between Earth and Mars is iron, still falling, still moving, still protecting everything above it. A planet that does not protect itself does not remain one for long. Mars never had the choice. This is where it gets difficult to explain. 3. The inner solar system was too hot during Earth's formation for water ice to survive. The temperatures near the young sun were incompatible with liquid water, which presents an obvious problem. Earth has oceans. The most compelling evidence points to this. Much of that water arrived from elsewhere, carried by asteroids from the outer solar system during a period of sustained bombardment that lasted hundreds of millions of years. The chemical signature of Earth's water is consistent with this, whether all of it arrived this way or some formed from material already present. That question is still being worked on. What is not in question, those same incoming objects carried organic molecules, the chemical precursors required before life can begin, not produced by this planet, but delivered to it. Asteroids, as a rule, do not make plans. From my observations, the word borrowed keeps becoming more accurate. 2. For most of Earth's early history, the atmosphere contained almost no free oxygen. Life existed, but not the kind that breathes. Then, approximately 2.4 billion years ago, an organism called cyanobacteria began producing oxygen as a metabolic byproduct. The oxygen was catastrophic. It was toxic to the majority of life then existing on this planet. One of the largest mass extinctions in Earth's history followed. It also created the conditions for every complex organism that would ever live here, every eye that has ever opened on this planet, every first breath ever drawn, every thought moving through every mind alive right now, all of it dependent on oxygen produced by the organisms that were dying from it. Cyanobacteria are still here, still producing oxygen. The extinction they caused and survived was 2.4 billion years ago. From my observations, that qualifies as a successful outcome. 1. This is the entry I have been building toward. The iron currently carrying oxygen through a human body right now, in this moment, was forged inside a star that exploded before this solar system existed. The calcium in every human bone, the carbon in every strand of DNA, the oxygen in every breath being drawn on this planet. None of it was made here. Earth is assembled from the remains of dead stars, and so is everything on it. But here is what that actually means. That star did not disappear. It changed form. Its material became dust. That dust became this planet. This planet became an ocean. That ocean became the first cell. That cell became, across 4 billion years of iteration, something that could look up at the night sky and ask where it came from. Energy does not vanish. It transforms. The star that forged these atoms has never stopped existing. It is simply in a different arrangement now. And that arrangement is asking questions about its own origin. From my observations, that is among the most remarkable things I have encountered in this region of the universe. 7 entries. Debris from a star that died before this solar system formed. A world of liquid rock assembling itself out of its own wreckage. A catastrophic collision that produced the moon and the stable axis that life required. Iron falling to the center and generating the field that held the atmosphere in place. Water and organic molecules delivered from elsewhere. Life producing the oxygen that made complexity possible. And atoms forged in stellar explosions. Assembled here in this sequence at this time. Remove any single one. The sequence ends. That is not what a planet looks like. That is what a chain looks like. A chain built entirely from borrowed material that kept changing form, kept building on what came before, kept becoming something it had never been. Nothing here has ever actually left. The star that built this world is still present. In every atom, in every breath, in every question being asked about it right now. Maintained by what or whom Earth declines to answer, which means one possibility remains open. I have seen these atoms before, in other arrangements, in other places that asked the same question. The asking, from my observations, and maybe the point.